Okay guys, so we've made it fit. Fits quite nicely actually. Plug welded underneath, but I've just put a couple of pop rivets in the back there for the minute to hold it in there. Not sure if I'm going to take them out or not. I've put the sealant in the back to hold that. Do have to weld this along here now. Fits quite neatly, so a nice neat fit. Whoops, popped out, but it's really close, so you've really got to stretch it out to put it back in. So yeah, you'll see where I put the plugs. A couple of little nicks there that need to be fixed up, but hopefully they'll look okay as well. So that's the first piece, almost done and dusted. Tomorrow I'll get on to finishing that last bit and cleaning it up and putting a small coat of what we call in Australia bog over the top. They call it body filler or whatever. I just call it bog. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay guys, so a bit windy out here this morning as well. Welded the patch in. It's not the best. I'll tap it here and there to get it a little bit flatter. It turned out okay, and I'll use as least body filler or bog as possible. If I keep calling it bog, you'll get used to it. I know bog is something you do in the toilet, or you bog down, or whatever you want to do. But the patch is in. As I said, I'm not a professional, so there was a couple of little holes still blown in here. There's one there. There's also one about here somewhere, so we'll repair them before we continue on with our straightening up a little bit and our body filler. Okay guys, got my body filler now. The body filler is a two-part solution. I don't know if you know that. It's about 50 to 1. I can see a little speck of dirt in here too. I'll just put more in there, I'm not sure. That came out then. Okay, so what will happen if you do have dirt in there, of course, is that you'll get scraped through the body filler as you use it. So I've had this blade for a long time, so you know, grab out a bit of body filler. Now I just like to work on the seams themselves to start with. 50 to 1, which I don't know what it is. Better put a little bit more than a little bit less. It is a bit of a cool day today as well, which doesn't help. Now I'll just mix that in. I don't know if you can pick that up, but it's gone from a white colour to a pinky colour. You can see I've still got a little bit on my blade, so I'll mix that in as well. I'll just grab some of the body filler. And I like the little blade because I can push it into the seams themselves. And I probably didn't mix up enough by the look of it, but that's okay. So I go into the seams themselves. I can feel that isn't going to be a very nice fill. It's not very flat up in this corner. I can see a dent there already. It wasn't mixed properly. So I'm just going to scrape it all to where I think, there's a grass there, where I think it needs the most. And then I'll use my large blade. The thing about a large blade is, on a flat surface, you can actually see how far out you are with the filler. Just in between coats, you do a bit of sand as well. Just get the rest of this fill off this knife. Put it down there for the minute. See if we can drag that filler through. See what happens when you work outside. Dirt. Dirt. Grass. The grass won't hurt too much. You can see it did. Dragged all the way through the putty. Just what I didn't want to happen, but that's okay. So you don't want to mess with it too much. It's starting to go off already. So I'll just leave it at that. Give it a bit of a sand in a minute and go for another coat in a minute. Okay guys, because it is a bit cold today, this stuff isn't going off as quick as it should. So I've just got the heat gun here, and it's actually blowing warm air, not too hot, on the actual metal itself, not on the bog, to help it cure a little bit quicker. And of course, once it's heated the metal up a little bit to the temperature that it needs to be, I can't remember what it says on the packet. Have a look. Safety instructions. Directions. Here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Thin layer, 50 parts of filler. Approximately 5 minutes. Always wear a dust mask, which I have been. 20 degrees. Possibly where the ambient temperature is 20 degrees. 20 minutes to curing. Well, at the moment it's about 15 degrees. That's in Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So I know that 100 degrees for you guys is about 37. So work it out from there. 15 degrees. Well, 10 degrees is 3.7, about 9 odd degrees Fahrenheit. So there you go. And it's not quite that yet. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer to cure. We'll leave it go for a minute. I'll grab a coffee. We'll go from there. Alright, just switch that on. Easy. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes or so. This has gone nice and hard along there. So we'll leave it set for another 5 or so, because it still is, I can feel it's not quite soft, hard enough to sand yet. It just needs to go off a little bit more. So I'll put the heat gun on for another 5 minutes or so, and we'll go from there. Okay, second coat of Bondo. Found out the word. Second coat of bog. I'll let it set again, and we'll go from there. It's a bit thick in places, but at least I've got a lot to sand off then, and don't have to worry too much about filling it again. Oh, one thing I didn't do last time is, as the Bondo sets, the bog sets, clean your tools as it sets. I just realised I didn't, and had to go through the rigmarole of getting the wire brush and cleaning them all off. So as it sets, gets a little bit hard, you'll see it's easy to peel off and get rid of. Just a handy hint. Now, because my spatula is fairly wide, I can actually get into the grooves. Now, I did actually pull it down this way. I like to actually pull it sideways as well, and across this way just for a final. But when you pull it sideways, of course, it's going to actually follow a bit of a curve of the metal itself, depending which way the curve is. So I've pulled it straight down because it's nice and wide, and across like that as well. Okay, the same as when you sand. You never go straight up and down, you always go across with the sander. But we'll get into that later when we actually do some proper sanding. Oops. Okay, so we can see that we've got low spots and high spots. That's to be expected. The metal is flat and has warped. It's a lot easier working on a curved surface like Herbie, because it does gives you a bit of forgiveness. But when you've got a flat surface like so, you've actually got to get it dead flat. I'm going to pop that in a little bit later on. Hopefully it won't crack the bog as much, so we'll just pop that down a little bit further. In there, a low where it joined down the bottom here. I didn't actually see that pop out when I welded it, but it must have popped in right there. A little bit low here as well. I thought that wouldn't be too bad. But as you can see, it's coming along, so I'll keep sanding and do our second coat, and that should almost bring it up to scratch. Okay, so just thought I'd bring you back in after the second sand. Not too bad. A little bit of a low spot here still because of that joint. You can see there how much it sticks out. I should have popped that back a little bit further, which I can do, and fill that a little bit again. But a little bit of a low spot. The rest is pretty good. we'll get up there with the sander and sand all that along there as well. Yeah, so far it's coming along okay. This corner, of course, it won't be seen too much because the bumper actually comes over here once we put a new bumper on. But the rest of it, pretty good. Okay, I'll bring you back later. Okay guys, so this is to undercoat stage. I know that the seam isn't quite right here quite yet, so I do have to fix that up. It's a bit bodgy just there, a bit high, a bit low in places, but not too bad. But straight, very straight along. You can see no bubbles, etc. So not too bad. Yeah, you can see where that seam just needs to be pulled out a little bit further as well. But all in all, not too bad for a backyard job. And we'll see you for another adventure and another rusty cutty out bit. Oh, before I go, because this is undercoat and this car is out in the weather, look, it doesn't matter what happens, but you often see cars that are undercoated and people think, look, I'll get it painted shortly. Undercoat is porous, so it's important to, it doesn't have to be the same colour, but important to put a coat of paint over that, okay, before the rust can get under it and pull the bog up, because it's porous as well. So make sure you stick a coat of paint on, doesn't matter what colour. If you've got some car paint, that's even better still. Or go to the local hardware store. We've got Super Cheap Auto. Any auto store will actually make up the proper colour. Whack it on and it might even look okay, but at the moment it's not sanded. Pardon me, and needs finishing off properly, but just whack a coat of paint over the top. Okay, alright, see you next time. Okay, quiet. Okay guys, so I wasn't happy with this edge along here, probably could do a little bit more, but look, I'm happy with it now. And down here, this edge was not straight at all. I just had a look at the video before and went, oh my god, that's as crooked as heck. I didn't sand too well under here, so now get that sun out of there. About there, I think it is. Whoa, come on, focus up. That's a bit better. Okay, so as you can see there, that line is almost straight now, which is really cool. And underneath on that other ridge there is pretty straight as well. So out of focus again. Sorry about that, guys. Just where the sun is at the moment isn't very helpful. I'm only using my phone. Okay, so ended up not being too bad. I'm very happy with that. Still, that gap in the middle isn't too bad. Bit of paint over it, you won't see it. And of course, the bumper bar goes around here. It's got to have high fill primer yet. This is just a normal base primer. It's actually an etch primer, so it etched into some of the metal that was showing. But you don't really use your etch primer too much on bog, etc. But it doesn't really matter. Primer's a primer. Helps the paint stick over the top. So there we go. This is the final bit for this. Hang on, there we go. Okay guys, back to the corner. It's looking pretty good. I'm very pleased with how it's sort of almost turned out. Just a little dent here that you might be able to pick up. Just there. Not happy with that. So to fill that, you wouldn't use any primer or anything because it'd be too hard to put in there. I've got this stuff called blade putty. Now it's like a very thick paint. So I'll open it up and we'll have a look where it actually looks like. Whoops. Advertising for there for whoever that is. Probably should have opened this off camera. It's taking more minutes. Yep, I'll do that. Okay, there we go. So you can see it's like a thick paint, and it does go off fairly quickly as well. So that's what it looks like. What I'll do, I'll just put a little bit of putty in that hole there. Don't want too much, because it does set pretty hard. Just like that. like to actually put just a little bit more because it does sink down a little bit. And there it is filled up, so I'll come back to that. I'll put a bit of heat on it and come back to that and sand it like the rest of it. It's come up okay. Nice straight bit there. I'm not going to worry about too much more sanding in there. Sand that down a little bit more. Not worry about the bumps and so forth, because obviously this is where the bumper is going to go over, as we said. I did leave the pot rivets in because I did put body sealer underneath that as I pop riveted it, so I didn't think there was any reason to. That corner is a little bit of a gap there, but I see around the back, and when I look inside, that has a little bit of rust, so that might have to come out later on, but it will be above that anyway. But them's the breaks when you don't look at things too much. But all in all, from where we started, it's not too bad. We filled up our little spot. It was about there, can't see it anymore. A little bit of a mark just there, not too worried about it. Got to remember this is an old car and I'm not going to paint the whole lot, so it's got to match fairly well. Alright, so we've done most of it. As I said, around here I'm not going to worry about too much. Under here's done. We've sanded it back everywhere we can. We went through the primer here, which is alright. We're going to tape it off along this edge, but I have seen a lot of people just put a row of masking tape straight along there and paint up to that seam. Now I have learned a trick from YouTube. What people do is they actually get a sheet of paper, here's one here, and fold it so it has a curve. Now they'd still tape it off onto there, but where the curve is, it allows the paint to come up into there and not be as hard, not as hard of an edge. So we're going to try that. I'll tape that off. I'll do a bit of a clean up here and here before I tape it off. So we're attempting to run it up to this edge here, which wouldn't be too bad because it's a pretty hard line anyway. But I'm going to use that paper trick and see if it works, and then I'll come back and we'll show you how we try to spray something. I'm not very good at that either. Alright guys, so we're all taped up to there. Not sure if I'm doing it right, but it's like a little curve under here, you can see. So as I feather it out there, it may help it as we paint the rest. I'm going to put it on a little stand. Hopefully we're going to get this. And we'll go here like that. Oh, we've got grass. Spray that way. Yeah, that looks alright. Get the junk out the way for a minute. Now what you want to do with your spraying is grab the colour. Pulling around my knees for days, they're very sore. Making sure that the colour is all mixed in the can properly. And we want to just do a light feather over the whole top. So just a light sticky coat over the whole lot. What a lovely colour to start with. Just let it set for a minute or two. If it is cold here today, I'm going to put heat gun on it, not too much. Hope you can hear me over that. I shall come back to you in a couple of minutes after that's gone tacky. Alright, it's gone a bit tacky. I'm just going to do another coat. The gun off always helps. Just going to put another coat over the top of that. Just feathering it as we go. Oh, heat gun fell over. Of course, this is a spray pack, it's not going to be perfect. And I'll wait for a while again. Okay, so I'm just going to do one final coat over the top and leave it at that, and then give it a quick sand and do a final coat. Now, knowing me, I would have been too heavy-handed in my younger days and tried to get it all done at once, but not now. All right, we'll just leave it for a while, let it get a bit tacky, and I'll give it a bit of a sand and we'll do a coat over the top.